What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be taking a look at an updated list of the most commonly used Pokemon, why they're used, what are some of the common EV spreads, some of the items that are used, because it's always a good idea to take a look at some of this stuff just because ladder reset already, so now this list is updated and now we get to see some of the latest things that people are trying with some of these Pokemon, especially since we have not one but still two more upcoming regionals for regulationB, aka series formerly known as series 2. So this way, if you're still trying to play the rest of this format, there is something to still play for, and you know, it's always a good idea to take a look at some of this stuff, and we're using Pikalytics website, so if you're a casual or a newer VGC player, and if you're trying to utilize resources to help out with your team building, this is one of those resources to use. Pikalytics is a great website. But I always tell people to use it with discretion and warning, especially when it comes to EV spreads. You can't just take the most common stuff and then just slap it onto your team, okay? So for example, if something has an EV spread that was meant to be played under Tailwind, they're probably meant to lower their speed values a little bit and then, you know, of course, get the speed back in terms of like Tailwind stuff. So if you don't have Tailwind on your team, that EV spread that you just took is meaningless, okay? So make sure you understand the type of EV spread that you're taking, and if you don't know, the best thing to do is ask or try and figure it out yourself based on like benchmarks or speed tiers, okay? Because that's what a lot of these EV spreads are going to be doing, and you'll see some examples as I go through some of these mods. But we're just going to go through like the top 30, I believe. You know, we're not going to do everything, of course, right? Because only the ones that are, you know, within that top 30 or 40 range are like relevant in the meta, okay? And that's the purpose of this video, just to go through some of these Pokemon and understand why they're being used, okay, and how they're being used, okay? So let's take a look at the first one. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one. At number 1, it is Fluttermane, of course, with that 58.5% usage. Look at these base stats, you know, very, very subpar HP and defense, of course, but 135 special attack, 135 special defense, 135 speed, very, very good on that end. And it's a very impressive special attacking sweeper that can be used in a lot of different ways. And if you take a look at the moveset, you can probably figure that out. Of course, you're going to get your 2-stat moves with the ghost move of Shadow Ball and then either Dazzling Gleam and or Moonblast. Then you even have Protect or the Parasong variant where you're going to be paired with stuff like Gothitelle and, you know, the Amoonguss Arcanine Palafin stuff. But then you also have like some hidden tech moves like Mystical Fire with Terrafire option, I'm sure, just to snipe those steel types like a Goldango. Then you have Trick Room, of course, you know, this way you can flip those Tailwind teams upside down on their head. And then you have Icy Wind, you know, just like the Iron Bundle, a little bit of speed control that, you know, is really, really convenient in certain situations. Then the seldomly used Taunt, right? So common teammates, of course, you know, the good stuff with like Arcanine, the Amoonguss, and then the bundle, and then you have some paradox options like either the Great Tusk, the Iron Hands, and then even like Roaring Moon, for example, right? So, oh, it's actually not even here, but that's okay. The Dragonite and King Gambit stuff is also more commonly seen as what the meta option has developed, because, you know, the Dragonite, unlike the Roaring Moon, has certain advantages that the Roaring Moon cannot give you, and we'll talk about that when we get into some of those Pokemon. But if you go down the item list here, Choice Specs and Life Orb are two very, very common items that, you know, one would expect. Focus Sash is also up there along with the Booster Energy, but, you know, the thing with the Booster Energy, you kind of want to share that with the Iron Bundle a little bit, just because in the mirror matchup, whose Icy Wind is going off first, all right? And you want every kind of speed advantage available. But the Choice Specs is really good, very convenient, you know, just spam Dazzling Gleam, you know, Tailwind stuff, and then you can just like, you know, one-shot a lot of things, you know, especially with that special attack stuff. Now, the EV spreads, so basically you can see like there's a bunch of common 252, 252 spreads with like Timid and or Modest, but then once you get down into some of these spreads here, then you start seeing some Fluttermanes investing into some bulk and then some certain speed tiers, right? So you have to figure out like, you know, if you want to play a bulky Fluttermane, you know, you have to understand how it's being used and like what are some of these like speed tiers doing, right? And as a newer player, you might not know, so it's always a good idea to ask, but I can tell you a couple of them. So for example, Fluttermane, you might see them invest right up to just this much, you know, and then, you know, 156 speed, and then actually just go with like a Modest variant where you're just going up to the second benchmark. So here's the first one at 176. Then you just add 80 more and then you're at 116. Okay, now why would one invest up to 175? Well, if you consider Dondozo here at max speed, after the Omni boost. So here we go, Adamant 252 for example, 87 times 2, from the Omni boost is 174. So 175 will outspeed it. And then from there, you can just go up to the second benchmark here in your special attack, and then you have all these EVs left to play with in terms of like bulk, right? So let's take a look at some of those spreads here. And here's one example where, there's actually a few here where you're just going for this idea or this concept, right? So you're just outspeeding Dondozo. If anything, max HP like this, this would already like fulfill the criteria, or well, almost max speed, right? But then, you do see that they have some bulk here, right? So you might have to take that into consideration, or you just drop this to like the first benchmark for something like this, all right? And then you just say, you know what, I have a choice specs already, or I have like some life orb stuff, and then I can just, go from there. And then the rest can just go into something like this with defense, right? And that's exactly what you see here over here with this kind of modest spread. So you're meant to outspeed Dondozo. Then you have the first benchmark in special attack, and then you just went like super bulky here with the HP stuff, right? And again, we do all kinds of EV spreads here when we do team building on the channel for coaching. So if you're interested in coaching where we get to construct a team from scratch and show you how to do EV spreads, check out the video description or the comment section where we have a link to join the channel, or every single video has a join button where you can click that. And again, same idea, it'll lead you to a link where you can sign up for coaching with us, where you get to sit down in the Discord call and we just hash it out and get you that team that you need for either a regional, an upcoming ladder tour, or just something to play with for the rest of the format. All right, but anyway, enough about that. So going down the list here, again, we have the Iron Bundle, of course. Makes a lot of sense. It's the fastest Pokemon, besides Dragapult, and it's 1 speed faster than Fluttermane. That's always convenient. Very standard set here, of course, with the Freeze Dry, Protect, Icy Wind, and Hydro Pump. But the Encore stuff was also rising a little bit, especially in some of the more recent regionals. And then if you look at some of the teammates, again, very similar teammates to like Fluttermane stuff. Of course, you're going to get the Arcanine Amoonguss core to round out your Fire, Water, Grass core. And then it's just all about the good stuff, with Iron Hands, potentially Talonflame stuff, and then either like Fluttermane or Roaring Moon, for example, right? Many different ways you could build this, but you more than likely have that Fire, Water, Grass core with Arcanine and the Amoonguss. Iron Hand, same idea. You're probably paired with like either Fluttermane and or Roaring Moon, and then just Fire, Water, Grass core after that. But very standard sets here with Fake Out, Wild Charge, Drain Punch, Volt Switch. Okay, that's your pivot move. Close Combat, that wasn't an option, depending on some teams. And then if you go down here, then you start seeing like the Storage Dance Belly Drum stuff. This is more used with those hard Trick Room teams because you have the Indeedee redirection as well as some of the Mouse Hold stuff. So there's an option there. And of course, Heavy Slam was just a nice, interesting tech option there. Okay, common teammates, like I said, here it is. Fluttermane, Roaring Moon with that Fire, Water, Grass core. And then if you go down this list, you'll see like the Indeedee Armor stuff potentially. Yeah, see, here's Armor Rouge, but you don't see the Indeedee yet. But if this list did extend, you probably would. Then if you just go down to the Great Test, of course, you're going to see like Talonflame, Tyranitar stuff, along with Gothitelle and what's that other one? Fluttermane stuff. But anyway, Headlong Rush, Close Combat, Protect, very standard stuff here. And then of course Earthquake, and then with Ice Spinner as like one of those tech options for the Assault Vest. But here it is, like, right, Talonflame, Tyranitar, Mouse Hold stuff with Dragonite. This stuff is like rising a little bit towards the end, but with understanding. And Focus Sash, of course, is the most popular item just because you're getting a reduction in your attack and defense. And then the Assault Vest has fallen off a little bit, just a little bit, right? They're going for more Choice Scarf, Life Orb stuff. But again, Jolly 252 spreads, or even Adamant 252. The advantage here with like the Adamant spreads, if I were to just like show you here, with Great Tusk, is at max speed, you're gonna hit 139, which more than outspeeds Goldango at modest. So this way you're actually outspeeding modest Goldango speed creepers. So there's the benefit there of going like Adamant max speed. And then also with the Iron Hands, I forgot to mention some of the items that people are running. Of course, the Assault Vest is the most common item because your special defense is not so great. And then the Citrus Berry and or Goggles are also two very common items, especially if you're running like the Belly Drum stuff. And along with the Safety Goggles, you don't want to get spored by Amoonguss in Trick Room. So, there's the idea there. And then, you're running like either Brave, to be on those Trick Room teams, or you're going with these like Adamant bulky stuff. So like something like this here, like why would someone use a spread like this in terms of like a diverse EV spread? So if we understand why, then then this is where you get better at your team building. Why would someone invest just about this much speed as far as like Iron Hands? Well, there's a few reasons. First of all, you have a couple of Pokemon that are also base 50 in your same speed tier. Okay, namely the King Gambit, right? So you don't want to lose those speed ties, especially like another Iron Hands. So from here, what you want to do is then, with this adamant investment of 76, you hit the benchmark, right? And then you just go like full 252 special defense. And then from here, you just go like all max HP, but or like leftovers HP. But like the idea here is, you're trying to compensate for your lack of special defense and you just max that out. But the idea here is like you go full adamant, not full adamant, I'm sorry. First benchmark in the adamant nature, just a little bit of speed just so that you don't lose those speed ties against other Iron Hands or other King Gambits. And then you invest all this special defense, just to help you out against like the Flutter Mane stuff. And then the rest just goes into HP and, that's pretty much it. So that's the idea there. All right. Great Tusk, of course. Always, we already talked about Great Tusk. Goldango is now the last one within the top 5. Of course, Goldango, right? It's a very strong steel type. It's good against Flutter Mane. You need that against Flutter Mane. So make it rain, Shadow Ball, protect, nasty plot. Very, very common partners, are like Amoonguss and Mousehold stuff, just so that you can safely set up those nasty plot plays a little bit better. You'll also see stuff like Talonflame, just to go for like Tailwind, just to boost up your Goldango speed. Okay, then some nice tech choices are like, Thunderbolt, Power Gem, and then Steel Beam for like single target stuff. But of course here, like Iron Bundle, Flutter Mane, Dondozo, Tatsugiri, this is like Goldango does really well like in the back end of like Dondozo, Tatsugiri stuff, right? But here we go. Besides that, again, like we said, Talonflame, Great Tusk, very, very common there, and then the Mousehold and Amoonguss stuff for sure. Choice Specs, a lot of damage, just like Flutter Mane. Choice Specs and Life Orb are also like very, very common items. And then if you go down to like some EV spreads, like you can see like 252 modest, or not modest, 252 timid, just so that you want to be able to go first, and with those hyper offensive teams, click those make it rains. But then if you go down here, you'll understand like, oh look, there's some investment in these modest builds, and you might even consider like, why would I want to go like bulky? Well, because remember, those Arcanines are going like for Flare Blitzes into your Goldangos, and if you want to survive, you need to go for some bulk, and that's the idea here. As well as like King Gambit, not Sucker Punch, but the Kowtow Cleave. You can survive the King Gambit Kowtow Cleave, but you need to invest in your HP and defense, and that's what some of these builds are meant to do. And at the very least, because you're so slow, you have Tailwind to compensate anyway. So that's the idea here with some of these modest spreads. Amoonguss and Arcanine are the defensive backbone of Series 2, so of course they're going to be next on your list. So with Amoonguss, again, Spore, Rage Powder, Pollen Puff, Protect. Of course, Clear Smog just for like the Dondozo matchups, but very common teammates. Of course, with the good stuff like the Arcanine, with the Iron Hands and Flutter Mane, and then Bundle Roaring Moon. That's already like a team right there. Like if you had to go down the top 10 and then just make a team out of the top 10, that's exactly what you would do. Okay, so let's actually just show that right here. Arcanine, Amoonguss, all right, Iron Bundle. Okay, this is your Fire Order Grass Core, and then you just round it out with something like this, with Flutter Mane, Roaring Moon, okay, and then some Steel type like either Goldango, or you could even do either, what's it called, King Gambit in this slot, and this is already a solid Series 2 team. And if you don't want King Gambit, then you can just do the Iron Hands, for example. And then this is a very standard, typical Series 2 team. The Fire Water Grass Core with the good stuff, right? 4 Paradox Pokemon on one team with the defensive backbone of Arcanine and Amoonguss. That's how it's done. That's how it's done. Okay. So nothing really else needs to be said. It's very good in Trick Room. Of course, you get Priority Spore without a doubt. So it helps set up like nasty plots, sets up Dragon Dances, a whole bunch of stuff. And then of course Clear Smog for the Dondozo. Arcanine, like we said, we were just covering it. So Flare Blitz, Will-O-Wisp, Protect, and then either Snarl or Extreme Speed, depending on the player. There is some options for stuff like Close Combat and Play Rough, but not much used. It's more like a supportive set. So again, same kind of partners, with Flutter Mane, Amoonguss, Iron Bundle, Iron Hands, Roaring Moon. We just said that, this is literally like one team that you could build with Arcanine. Goggles, of course, so you don't get spored by the Amoonguss. Assault Vest if you want to be like more aggressive and be more tanky. Citrus Berry for a little bit of recovery. But then, of course, here, this is where things get interesting, right? With the EV spreads. Now, I like either the careful spreads, where you're able to survive the Iron Bundle Hydro Pumps, which you can find out with the damage calcs, or you can go like these Adamant builds, where like you're a little bit more aggressive, and then you're able to pick up those Goldengos. So like, this is my favorite Adamant spread here, if I'm just looking at it. So like, just to right off the bat, just take a look at that. So if I just go like Adamant, 76. First of all, this is the first EV benchmark. 154, right? See, you skip 152 to 154, and then if you look at their speed, 172. Let's take a look at that. Right around here. So this is for Modest Goldango. This allowed speed Modest Goldango. So that's already one realization there. And then they just pretty much put all this bulk here into HP 220, and then something like this. What was it? 12 and then 28. Yeah. So this is probably just like the leftover stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was like an Assault Vest set. So something like Flare Blitz, Snarl, Extreme Speed, and then something else, right? Some coverage move. But this is pretty much an aggressive Arcanine. And if you don't want to run the Assault Vest, then you could just do like Safety Goggles. And then instead of Extreme Speed, then now you can run Will-O-Wisp. Or then you can, instead of Extreme Speed, you can just run Protect, right? This is a very standard Arcanine that can pick up a lot of Goldengos that have some bulk. So that's the idea there. All right. And then as we keep going down the list, Dondozo Tatsugiri is up next. So with Dondozo, it's always like a very consistent option. It always has at least 5, 6, 7, 8 top cut results, no matter the regional, and for good reason. It gets an Omni boost. And it's just able to apply so much pressure in the end game. So besides Tatsugiri, but by the way, I consider Dondozo Tatsugiri like as 1. I don't consider like this is as 8 and then Tatsugiri is 9. But anyway, very standard sets here that you're seeing Dondozo use. Order Up, Earthquake, Substitute, Protect, of course. Then you have the option for like, of course, Wave Crash, but then you have to give up one of your attack moves. Usually the Earthquake is given up. You kind of need the Order Up, but if you just want Wave Crash and Earthquake, then that's okay too. If you want the Rest set, then you have to run the Chesto Berry, which is the second most popular item. So if you don't want to run Rest, then don't run the Chesto Berry, obviously. Then other than that, the leftovers is the consistent item here for recovery. And then, of course, Unaware. The EV spreads, you pretty much guess, like, again, it's all Adamant. A lot of them are max speed. They're to the bump like this. And then the rest just goes into leftover bulk, just a little bit, it's just like at that point, leftover EVs. But again, with Tatsugiri, same idea here. Draco Meteor, Muddy Water, Icy Wind, and then either it's Protect if it's not a Choice Scarf set, or it's some other item like Sleep Talk, for example. It really all depends, but Dondozo teammates just vary, depending on how you want to play it in the back end. So it's usually like Flutter Mane plus like the Iron Moth, and then go 2 fillers, right? Or you can just have like Arcanine, Dragonite. Those are other considerations. Yeah, see, here we go, Iron Moth, Dragonite stuff. So it really depends on how you want to play the subsequent engine with Dondozo Tatsugiri, but stuff like Hyper Offense with Talonflame, Flutter Mane, Goldango, and something else, or the Great Tusk engine, or the Flutter Mane Iron Moth engine. There's multiple other engines that you can play with Dondozo Tatsugiri, but either way, it's very consistent, very solid, and it makes a lot of sense. Here's the Choice Scarf, of course. Then as we go into Dragonite over here, at number 9. So basically with Dragonite, it very, very much, Extreme Speed, Ice Spin, or Terra Blast are the 3 main moves that you're going to be clicking on this thing. Now, Dragonite's been special, these last couple of weeks. It's actually risen up through the meta ranks, whereas it wasn't really in the consideration, in the beginning. It was always like relatively solid, but it was up until recently that people really, really started using Dragonite, and more specifically that multi-scale set. Where is it? Yeah, see, look, multi-scale has now surpassed the Inner Focus, despite the fact that there's so many Arcanines running around. This is just because like the value that you get from being able to take like one big super effective attack and then just live to tail the tail is very, very much needed and impressive, right? So some common items, of course, the Assault Vest is always good. Then the Lumberry, because Dragonite, if you're burned and or slept, it's not really great. Your Extreme Speed is just not doing damage, and then if you're slept, of course, you're just a sitting duck there. But other than that, of course, Assault Vest with Choice Band and or Safety Goggles are pretty good options. As far as like other moves, besides the big three, then you're gonna see like low kick, which is gonna do a lot of damage against heavier targets, like another Dondozo. You might even see like some interesting tech choices like Stomping Tantrum or even like Dragon Dance Tailwind stuff. So with the Tailwind, now you become a support option, and some people have been using Dragonite as like the replacement Talonflame on those Great Tusk teams, just because Talonflame, after it sets Tailwind and it has the occasional Brave Bird, it's not really bulky and it doesn't really do so much damage. Whereas Dragonite can actually give you some offensive pressure. So this is why some people have been using Tailwind on Dragonite for that example. And then Dragon Dance Slumberry is also really, really solid. And then from here, these are just like supplementary tech choices like Aerial Ace with like Choice Band. That was also very cool. But easily what you could do with something like Dragonite is just something like this. Let me just remove some of these options here. But basically, you're a lot of the Mousehole teams actually use Dragonite along with Talonflame, Great Tusk. So if you have Dragonite here, then you have Talonflame, you have Great Tusk. This way, so Great Tusk has 2 targets that it can Earthquake next to. And then you just have the Mousehold here for redirection Friend Guard support, which we'll talk about in a second and when we get to the Mousehold. And then from here is just like something like Iron Bundle and then a Goldango, for example. This is already like a very solid 6. And if you don't want the Goldango and if you want to deter the Dragonite from being intimidated because it's going to be running multi-scale, then what you could do is just run, what's that called? King Gambit instead. This is your steel type here. And then in the replacement of something like the Iron Bundle, well, actually the Iron Bundle kind of stays. So then replace the Talonflame for something like the Fluttermane. And now what you have is a Dragon Fairy Steel Core with Dragonite, Fluttermane, and King Gambit. And then you have the Great Tusk, Mousehold stuff, and then Iron Bundle. Like these 2 are like your supplementary support Pokemon, and this is another really, really good way to build it. I think this was Olivia Timbit's team, right? From Canada, I believe. So this is also a really, really cool way to use it. But other than that, and then you have Roaring Moon over here. So basically with Roaring Moon, again, the dominant Paradox Dragon type of Series 2. Again, with Protect, Throat Chop, Acrobatics, Tailwind, this is like a standard set here, whether it's Jolly or Adamant, either way. Dragon Dance is also rising now, just because, even though Arcanine can intimidate you, that's okay, because if you're going with the booster energy, you get an attack boost anyway. Then if you just Dragon Dance, you get the attack boost back, and now all of a sudden you're also +1, and the Arcanine is now in an awkward position. And Breaking Swipe is another really, really good tech. Followed by some other options like Iron Head, so then you might go Terra Steel. Even Snarl is a really, really good option. And then even Roost, these are all like supplementary sets on Roaring Moon if you want to play it that way. But as far as like teammates, again, Arcanine, Amoonguss, Bundle, and then Fluttermane, Iron Heads. This is like a very standard team. Or you can go onto the Great Tusk teams and then, apply pressure there. But Booster Energy, the preferred item of choice, of course. Then you can either run like Life Orb. I think that is its best secondary item. I don't know about the Clear Amulet. I don't think it's necessary, especially if you're Adamant Nature, going for Dragon Dance. But you can see the Jolly sets are more impressive. Like the 220 Jolly set is just so that your attack stat doesn't surpass your speed. So this way you still get the speed boost. Then over here, then you start looking at the Adamant bulky sets for Roaring Moon. I like the Adamant 164 sets just because, yeah, something like this. Because you have some speed after like Dragon Dance, and then this is the second benchmark in its attack set, and then you just have like good bulk along with some good defensive bulk, and you can survive like Drain Punch, Iron Hands potentially, right, depending on the role. So there's the idea there. But that's our top 10. And again, it makes sense why these are top 10. Like, how many Paradox Pokemon you have in the top 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then technically 5, right? So 5 of the 10 are Paradox Pokemon with good reason, right? This is a Paradox format. So of course you're going to see the Paradox Pokemon be used, and there's no limit to them. So, if you can slap a couple of them on multiple teams, that's also how you want to win games, right? If you want to win games, use good Pokemon. All right, so then what we're going to do now from here is take a look at 11 through 20 and see how these options pan out. So King Gambit starts us off at number 11. So, with the Dark Steel typing, you're 4 times weak to fighting, but that's okay. You're able to terrestrialize it and change that. Really, really good check into Fluttermane. Also pretty good into Goldango, which are both in the top 10. So it makes all that, all the reason to put it. And then again, of course, we just used Dragonite, Fluttermane, and Dragonite, Fluttermane, King Gambit, and it makes sense as to rounding out that Dragon Fairy Steel Core. And it just deters Arcanine Intimidate, so it makes sense that this is a very used Pokemon. And you can see the sheer bulk that it has with 100 HP, 120 defense, 85 Speed F, but then you slap on the Assault Vest, and it's just a super bulky Pokemon. Very standard sets here with Sucker Punch, Iron Head, Kowtow, Lead. The last one can either be like Protect or some tech move like either Terra Blast, Low Kick, for example, and very standard. And then again, we just use these teammates to Flutter Mane, Dragonite, of course. It just makes a lot of sense to round out that kind of team. But moving on to Maushold, so we discussed this earlier just a little bit. It's really nice with Dragonite, and you can see it's one of those partners here. Yeah, besides the Great Tusk, and then the idea with Maushold, especially now, it's more of a supportive option with Friend Guard and Super Fang for chip damage. And if you go down the list, this is exactly what you'll see. Because again, with Follow Me support, you're able to set up those Dragon Dances from Dragonite, or even just like Tailwind support, or even support your own Annihilate, which is also still a thing. This is also why you see Beat Up here at a very high usage. And then from here, you might see some tech options like either Taunt, Feint, or Baby Doll Eyes. These are all good good moves, especially the Baby Doll Eyes. If you don't have an Arcanine on your team, this is more like an active form of trying to intimidate something, with the Baby Doll Eyes. And you can see here with the teammates, again, Annihilate is one of those teammates, along with Great Tusk and Dragonite. Makes a lot of sense. Of course, Goldengo, so this way you add bulk to Goldengo, so this way you can try and safely set up a nasty plot. And that's pretty much it, what Maushold is supposed to do. It's a very good, strong supportive Pokemon. Friend Guard is very valuable, so all the more reason to it. Safety Goggles is the most common item because of Mungus. You want to get around that, of course. And then here it is, as proof. Here's the Friend Guard. Technician, not as much anymore. Population Bomb was more of a Series 1 kind of thing, but again, as Series 2 progressed, people realized Maushold is a much better option for this format. Alright, then we go into Brute Bonnet, who has risen through the ranks. In the beginning of the format, nobody was really using Brute Bonnet, but then as things progressed, people figured out how to use this thing. You can even put it on Tailwind, or you can either put it in the Trick Room teams, and it does well in either one, right? Because unlike Amoonguss, you're able to apply a lot of offensive pressure because, this base stat of 127 attack is actually really good. You have more bulk than Amoonguss, so there's one thing about that. You're a little bit faster than Amoonguss, of course. You're faster than, the King Gambits and the Iron Hand, so there's some positives in that. The only thing is your typing is not that great. It makes you weak to Flutter Mane, you're weak to Acrobatics, Roaring Moon. The bundle also pins you there, and then you're weak to fighting type attacks from the Iron Hand. So a lot of weaknesses for Brute Bonnet in terms of this, but other than that, it is able to compensate and still give you good value. So a couple ways to use Brute Bonnet in terms of like a moveset: Spore, Sucker Punch, Bullet Seed. Now the thing with Bullet Seed is most people are using this with the Loaded Dice set, and you might find that over here. Yep, see, actually Loaded Dice is the most common item. So for that reason, Bullet Seed makes a lot of sense here. You're doing a lot of good chip damage, especially with that base attack stat. Then you have Crunch here as another good attack option. Rage Powder if you want to play it like the Amoonguss, for example. And then if you don't like the Loaded Dice set, then you just opt for Seed Bomb. And then in terms of like teammates, you can see that Torkoal is one of these teammates, just because of the Photosynthesis boost that it'll get into its attack stat. So that there's some benefit there, along with the Iron Hands, rounding out that Trick Room core. So this is again, you see like Talonflame is here because with Talonflame you're able to provide Tailwind for Brute Bonnet, and you're just outspeeding everything, especially if you go like a almost max speed Brute Bonnet. And then again, the Indeedee, Armarouge, Hatterene stuff again are just like very good options on a Trick Room team. But if you look at the EV spreads here, I like these bulky Adamant sets. So like for example this one, like you might, again, like we've been talking about earlier, like what does this set do? I don't know what these speed tiers are or what these numbers are. So if we take a look at Brute Bonnet, just to give an example, again, you get this all through like experience. All right, there's no way like a newer VGC player can like be able to do this instantly, but with time everyone should be able to do this. But as far as like the speed, 228, what does that do? Let's see. So 104 actually under Tailwind will be able to outspeed the Iron Bundle, right? Because then that gets you to 208, which outspeeds the bundle, which reaches a speed of 206. So there's the reasoning there. Then you look at the attack stat of 180. That's probably an EV bump. So let's take a look at that. So here it is, Adamant 180, and it is, right? So you see how you go from 185 to 187. So this is it. It's just to a benchmark, and then from there it's just 84, 4 and 12. So this is pretty much just like leftover EVs. right? You know, just 1 point in the defense and then just a little bit in the bulk, right? That's it. Under Tailwind, you outspeed the Iron Bundle, you hit the bump in the attack, and then you just have a little bit of leftover bulk. And that's how you do a quick EV spread for Pokemon. Pick a benchmark, hit a bump in your attacking stat, and then everything else just goes into leftover EVs. Now, you can do the damage calcs if you want, sure. If you have it in mind, go for it. But if not, this is the general way to do it. All right. So great job with Brute on it there. Talonflame, again, we've been explaining this. It's good on the Goldengo, Great Tusk, Dragonite teams. This is the starting point of all these hyper offensive teams. So nice to see Talonflame over here. You know, in the top 20 option. Murkrow, sorry buddy, you've had your fun in the sun in Series 1, but in Series 2, it's all about the Talonflame. Tailwind, Brave Bird, Will-O-Wisp, Taunt. Of course, these are very, very standard sets. Some people opt for the Flare Blitz. If you go for Tailwind, Flare Blitz, Brave Bird, and then Will-O-Wisp, okay, sure. But again, like I said, Talonflame with Great Tusk, this is the most common partner. The Tyranitar stuff is also really good, along with the Fluttermane Goldengo stuff. That's also nice, and you should, and also in the back end of Dondozo Tatsugiri stuff, right? And then there you see the Gothitelle here, which is really good, along with the Fluttermane. It's something along the lines of that hyper offensive core. We built a team like this just recently, where we sent a couple people into, you know, Knoxville, like Philip Coleman in particular, right? So it was Talonflame, Great Tusk, okay, Tyranitar, Sylveon, and Gothitelle. All right, this is our core 5, and then from there, you know, there he was able to get 6-3 record and get 40 CP out of this, so it was really, really good there. But again, it's only good on like those hyper offensive teams. But can you play it with Dondozo? Yes, of course. Kiki did it, right? You know, the winner of the junior regionals. So shout outs to Kiki. Armarouge, again, we just talked about it. It's the core of your Trick Room teams. And of course, its most common partner is going to be the Indeedee, without a doubt. Then the Iron Hands, Torkoal stuff will follow. As far as like movesets, Expanding Force, Armor Cannon, Trick Room, Protect. The Wide Guard is still a nice tech option if you want to, you know, disrupt spread moves. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Some people are opting for like Aura's for your Energy Ball. This is also okay. Same thing with Clear Smog, just for like the Dondozo stuff. But like, you know, as far as like the moveset, this is pretty much it. Then if you go into like the EV spreads, well, also the items, right? Weakness Bossy, so they might even run like weak armor stuff now besides the Flash Fire, along with Life Orb and Twisted Spoon. Because Hatterene has entered the fray, the Life Orb is going on the Hatterene, and then the Twisted Spoon is going onto the Armarouge just because of the Expanding Force damage. So for that reason, yeah. But Weakness Bossy, you're seeing this a little bit more just for like the flip turn stuff with the Iron Bundle. And combined with the weak armor, you just start, you know, being super fast and dealing a bunch of damage, right? So see, there it is. So like 25% usage from weak armor makes a lot of sense. Either you're quiet with no speed, of course, you know, just so that you're really, really fast in Trick Room, or you're a bulky modest set where you're just able to take some of those big attacks and you're probably hitting some of these benchmarks. Whereas like this 228 HP, I'm sure this is like some kind of Life Orb optimization spread. And then some speed where like under Tailwind or under after weak armor stuff, you're just outspeeding the rest of the format, right? So that's the reasoning there. If we keep going, again, same thing with Indeedee. I feel like these two go together mostly. If you look at partners, yeah, see, look at that. 83% of the time you're going to find an Armarouge there, along with Iron Hands, Torkoal stuff with Iron Bundle. And then there's the Hatterene coming in. It's basically another redirection, just like Mousehold. And then you're able to just protect your Armarouge from ghosted type attacks because you're able to just click Follow Me and invalidate that. So Follow Me, Trick Room, Helping Hand, Psychic. Again, with Trick Room Indeedee, you know, you're just able to be a bulky Indeedee. I would expect most of these are like Bold Nature or Relax, just so that you're able to take the Throat Chop from the Roaring Moon better, you know, because, you know, you want to be able to survive that at the very least. And then Dazzling Gleam along with Terra Fairy was the more common choice here with the Indeedee. But if you look at the partners, again, like we said, Armarouge and then Iron Hands, Torkoal stuff, hard Trick Room teams, then you'll see some stuff with like Hatterene again, of course, entering the fray. But Psychic Seeds is the most common item, along with sometimes the Safety Goggles just for like Amoonguss spam. But in terms of EV spread, yeah, as I expected, either you're like bold stuff or you're like relaxed natured, just to be able to take those physical dark type attacks, right? So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So then now we go, all right, Torkoal. So again, you can see like the hard Trick Room cores are like right along each other. Torkoal, Protosynthesis stuff, bringing out the sun, able to boost attack or special attack, but also your opponents, which is why sometimes Torkoal is a little bit iffy. But again, on those hard Trick Room teams with Eruption, it does a lot of damage. And here it is, like Indeedee Hatterene with Brute Bonnet and or Iron Hands. It's basically just a Trick Room sweeper. Torkoal is still pretty good despite the fact that you're boosting your opponent. But the other thing is, like, it also gets walled by a lot of stuff, just because. And then, a lot of things have priority, so you're just able to really, really reduce that Eruption damage. But other than that, still a very, very solid Pokemon, especially if you want to play it like the hard Trick Room teams with Hatterene and Choice Scarf or Annihilate. Okay, then Tyranitar, what I like to call the anti-meta of the format, because the Assault Vest allows you to bulk a lot of different things and then hit for super effective damage right back. Again, with those Talonflame Great Tusk teams is what you'll find it on. Rock Slide, Terra Blast, Low Kick, Crunch. Of course, these are very, very good moves. And then you might see the occasional Heavy Slam for destroying the Flutter Mains, right? I think it's kind of funny when it happens. But as far as like common teammates, yeah, again, makes sense. Great Tusk, Talonflame, along with something like Goldango, Gothitelle, just for trapping opponents along with that. Makes a lot of sense. This was basically like Toilet Web's team, where they just had the Fluttermane, Gothitelle, along with Talonflame, Great Tusk, Tyranitar, and then the bundle just to round things off a little bit, right? Makes a lot of sense. Assault Vest, again, this is what makes Tyranitar super bulky. Combined with the Sand, it's very hard to break. Weakness Policy, not so much. Everything else is like very situational, but Assault Vest is clearly the best item for Tyranitar. And then again with these adamant sets, so again, why are some of these like 180, 188, or even like 204, 196? What are these adamant sets trying to do? So if I were to just go with Tyranitar here for a second, this is our Tyranitar spread. We also went for 180 because again, when you go for 180 investment, you're hitting that 104 benchmark, and with Talonflame Tailwind, you're outspeeding an opposing Iron Bundle. And then from here, this 124, this is an EV benchmark. And then just from here, you're able to just put a little bit in the bulk and then just max out the HP. But if you don't want that much HP, then what you do is you just go to the third bump here, which is 204 investment, and then you have 116, in terms of your HP stat. And if you look at Tyranitar, yeah, this is it right here. This is the second set right here for the Adamant Nature. So you got to understand like where you're getting these EV spreads from and what they're doing. That's the theme of this video. As far as like rounding out the top 20/30 Pokemon being used in the format. But Palafin, the king of the Perish teams, it was just on Justin Tang's team, so you're gonna see like Gothitelle, Arcanine, Amoonguss stuff as common partners. Yeah, see, here it is. All right, this is the Perish core, of course, without a doubt. It's also on Rain teams, so you're probably also gonna see Pelipper on this list. Yep, there it is. There's the Pelipper, along with Goldango and or Roaring Moon. Makes a lot of sense, along with Iron Hands. Potentially, yep, just because like Iron Hands on those Rain teams is really good against Iron Bundle, because the Iron Bundle is really good against Amoonguss, Palafin, and Pelipper, so you need something for the bundle, and the Iron Hands is just that. But as far as like movesets, of course, Jet Punch, Wave Crash, Protect, and Haze, this is very standard right now, because with the Haze, you're able to just remove those Dondozo buffs, so that's one answer there. And then just like consistent water damage with priority Jet Punch is always really, really nice. As far as like, common item, it's probably Mystic Water without a doubt. Yep, 86%. You can use like Choice Scarf, Choice Band items. These are more like Series 1 format kind of items. But then as the meta progressed, Mystic Water kind of did the same thing as the Choice Band, and then it didn't lock you in and it gave you access to Protect. So Mystic Water was just better, and you're just only really using 2 attacks anyway. So there's the idea there. Annihilate, really good with Mouse Hold stuff. I'm surprised it's not really paired together, but Annihilate kind of gets walled a little bit by a lot of different things this format. With the Fluttermane being one of them, the acrobatics, Roaring Moon stuff, that's another thing. But it's still a pretty good Pokemon. And the pretty standard sets are still relevant with Rage Fist, Drain Punch, Protect, Bulk Up. So with Mouse Hold, this is your set. If you're doing the final Gambit stuff, that's probably the Choice Scarf. See, Mouse Hold is his most common partner, along with certain Trick Room teams like, Torkoal, Armorgen, and Indeedee. Makes a lot of sense. And here's the Choice Scarf as one of its items for the final Gambit set, or if you're going with the Rage Fist set, this is the Leftovers item for sure. And then if you go down into the EV spreads, you'll see like some of these Adamant builds, like, yeah, see, like this is like for a bulk up set with for sure, because you only reach the first set in the attack with 36 investment. This one is to the second bump here, so there's that idea, and it's a little bit faster, but same kind of concept. It's all about the bulk with the Rage Fist set, whereas Final Gambit, you're just going with the Jolly set with max HP to get the most out of your Final Gambit and max speed just so that your Final Gambit goes first. This is the Choice Scarf Final Gambit set. Iron Moth, really good with Fluttermane, of course. So then you'll probably see this with like Fluttermane and then Dondozo cores as part of. Yep, see exactly. Because that's a very, very solid forward to build around, and then you'll see like either Dragonite Arcanine or Dragonite Amoonguss, for example, or Brute Bandit in this case. But there's the idea there. But again, with Iron Moth, you deal a lot of damage, but your most consistent option or most consistent role is using Acid Spray to make either Goldengo or the Fluttermane do extra damage, because you don't really get Sludge Bomb, so unfortunate for that. And then Heat Wave and an Energy Ball for your coverage moves, right? Sludge Wave is really good next to a Steel type, but other than that, it's not really consistent. You might even consider Overheat just for like big damage along with the Energy Booster. But other than that, that's really its role. It's more of a supportive paradox rather than like a more offensively oppressive one. But this is what you'll see from the Iron Moth. It has its niche on those Dondozo Fluttermane teams. Okay, so where are we at in terms of like the 11 through 20? 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, 12. Well, we actually went past the 20 mark. So now we'll keep going into the rest of the 10, which will round out the top 30 of the format. So Sylveon gets us started with the tail end 10 of the top 30. So basically with Sylveon, kind of like Fluttermane, you're able to apply a lot of fairy pressure, a lot of special attacking pressure with the fairy typing. And then from here, again, you just look at the movesets, very, very standard, but you'll probably see Yawn here. Yep, it's really good with Gothitelle if you're able to trap things. But you do need the Throat Spray to get things going, but it is at least a little bit more bulkier than the Fluttermane. So you have that going for it. The only problem is you're just slow. So that's the consideration. But I like Sylveon rather than Fluttermane just because I can invest a little bit more in my bulk stats and have it live. But, you can see that the Sylveon is paired with like Dondozo stuff along with, Iron Hands, Arcanine, Bundle, Roaring Moon, Amoonguss. This is like a very standard core. Like think about a Fluttermane core like this and then just slap on a Sylveon as opposed to the Fluttermane. It makes a lot of sense. Garganical, again, this is like the king of endgames sometimes where it's just annoying. It clicks Salt Cure, it clicks Recover, and games go to timer. So if you want to play like that, sure, but it's still very, very strong. It's dropped a little bit because things are able to answer it a little bit better. But the ghost typing I would assume is a little bit better than the poison that was originally taking the ladder by storm. But you can see that these are the considerations. Amoonguss, Arcanine, Roaring Moon, and Fluttermane, Iron Hands would be my guess. And that's exactly what it is. So this is a very, very standard Garganical team, right? With Iron Hands, Bundle, Fluttermane, Amoonguss, Roaring Moon. This is it. I would not build any other Garganical team other than this 6. Okay? It makes a lot of sense. Leftovers being the best item, you get passive recovery. You're able to just keep going for, alternating protects while the opponent suffers from the Salt Cure damage every other turn. Murkrow, it has fallen from grace, but it was in the top 4 in the most recent Knoxville Regionals. And again, the idea with Murkrow is, with Tailwind and Haze support, you make your team fast, you remove Dondozo buffs, you have speed control along with Quash and or Foul Play, so there's the idea there. But as far as like other things, you can also consider like Sunny Day. Oops, turn off that. And then from here, you might even consider like Taunt. Just to like stop Trick Room or other Tailwinders going for stuff. But you can see like some of the common partners. Great Tusk, of course, along with Goldengo to remove those debuffs from Make It Rain and or Headlong Rush. Makes a lot of sense there. You might even go and slap it onto a Fluttermane team, for example, which is another one of the most common uses. But very, very standard here. And you might even have it in the back end with like Dondozo stuff. So I would imagine like Murkrow with like Roaring Moon, Goldengo, and like Great Tusk. This could be like another core, but it's just better to use Talonflame overall. Volcarona, one of my favorite fire types. I've been a big Volcarona supporter for a very long time. Again with Quiver Dance, Protect, Heat Wave, and then Giga Drain is another option. But Struggle Bug for like a supportive build is also really, really good. But it also gets Tailwind and Will-O-Wisp, so just don't forget that about Volcarona. really good tech choices that you can use with this Pokemon. But as far as like teammates, you know, Mouse Hold is really good for it. You're able to just overcompensate for that lack of physical bulk, and then, you know, just help support the Quiver Dance stuff. You might even put it on like Iron Bundle, Great Tusk. Again, these are like very common partners. Dragonite, Amoonguss also. I like using Volcarona, Dragonite, Amoonguss, by the way. It just makes a lot of sense. With Dragonite being weak to like the ice stuff and the fairy stuff, you have Volcarona to just resist everything, and it's really nice. As far as like the EV spreads, I like the modest build where you outspeed Goldango, and I'll show you which one that one is. Yeah, this one right here. So if I put in Volcarona, for example, on something like this, let me just remove all these other options and get them out of the way so I don't distract you. But just being able to outspeed Goldango with 140 investment right here is really nice. And then if you could just go with the modest build, and if you check what it's going for, just 36 investment. This is all you really need, because you're getting all of this with the Quiver Dance set. And then from here, just 1 point in special defense, so you round out an even number, get the best bang for your buck with the Quiver Dance. And then you just go again with just 100 investment, 228, something like this, or even 236, just to, if you're going for leftovers, I would just max out the HP like this and then just put the rest in defense. Or if it's like a Life Orb set, for example, you can just do this. And this is already a very good Volcarona. Or again, like I said, you can just make it super bulky and just go max HP like this. Especially with like leftovers, 192 is a very good benchmark for getting like solid whole number recovery from the leftovers. The rest goes into defense like this. But that's pretty much what this spread is all about. Outspeeding modest Goldango, first bump in the special attack stat, and then just going into bulk from there. All right, Gothitelle, really good at trapping things with you know, Flutter Mane, going for the pair stuff. That's a theme for Series 2. You'll probably see Arcanine, Amoonguss, Palafin, Iron Hands, without a doubt. And that is exactly what you see. A gun along with the Great Tusk, Tyranitar, Talonflame stuff. Yeah, here's the Parasong core. So that's two ways to use Gothitelle, right? Either you're using it with Tyranitar and Flutter Mane stuff, or you're using it with Flutter Mane, Parasong, along with, you know, the Palafin, Iron Hands, and the Amoonguss Arcanine stuff. So that's the idea with Gothitelle there. You're just making it super bulky, you know, with Fake Out Pressure, Psychic, Trick Room, and or Taunt. Heal Pulse if you want to like heal your Pokemon back to full, but that's also like a little bit more of a situational thing. But as far as like items, either the berry or the leftovers is really good. You can see all of it is like recovery berry, right? And then of course Shadow Tag being the trapping ability. Calm is the way, you know, so this way you can take those Shadow Balls a little bit better. That's the main idea why you want that, you know, just to get a little bit more special defense bulk. And it's pretty much just max HP with the remainders going into defense, right? So that's a very standard Gothitelle way to build things. Then you go into Mimikyu over here. So Mimikyu is used with the Garganacl stuff along with Roaring Moon. I believe that was like Jude's team. Yeah, see, here it is. Roaring Moon, Garganacl, Amoonguss, Iron Hands bundle. This is a very standard Mimikyu team. You know, just slap it on with the good stuff kind of thing. But pretty much Play Rough, Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw, and Curse. This is like your Dondozo thing. And then if you want, you can make it into a Trick Room setter. But Curse is really good on Mimikyu. And then if you go down into like items, Life Orb, for that extra offensive pressure, it lets you pick up Goldangos and Flutter Manes, especially if you're like the Adamant builds. Yep, see, here we are. You know, some of the Adamant builds are very popular, but that's really all you want out of your Mimikyu. Then you have Baxcalibur, again, one of these niche dragons besides Roaring Moon and Dragonite. Garchomp being like the other one, where Baxcalibur is able to put on a very good amount of offensive pressure with this base 145 attack stat. All right, you do get access to Ice Shard and Icicle Spear, so like this is the loaded dice set, along with Glaive Rush. Dragon type damage is really good. And then here are your common teams, right? It's used a lot with the rain teams with Dragonite a little bit, which you do see over here. So this is pretty much that rain team. So if you want to use it like that way, you can. But it's very good. But I would just only use it for there. I don't know if I want to use it like anywhere else. I think it's really good on that rain team that Gavin Michaels has been using with Baxcalibur and Dragonite. Then you have Glimmora. You know, again, hazards are a thing in VGC now, and Glimmora seems to be leading the way into using those hazards. So with Power Gem, Earth Power, Sludge Bomb, Spiky Shield, this is very solid. It's very standard as well. If you look at its you know, special attack, you know, 130 is really good. And then the defensive bulk that you get with 83 HP, 90 defense, 81 special defense, it's above average. It's actually pretty solid. Okay, and you know, just sending those hazards and forcing people to swap is really good. You know, potentially in a VGC kind of thing. So either like Focus Sash or Specs, Assault Vest are like the top 3 items I would use. I don't know about like Life Orb, Citrus Berry stuff. Like, yeah, I guess it's situational, but for me, I'm more of a Assault Vest kind of guy, so I would just add bulk to Glomora, but I understand the merit behind the choice specs, you know, just dealing extra damage, of course. And then from here, like is this also used like, yeah, so I was trying to look for this, like Iron Moth with Dondozo Tatsugiri Fluttermane, like you just, again, Acid Spray makes Glomora do a little bit more damage, and then along with the Fluttermane Dondozo Tatsugiri core. This is the most common use of the Glomora at the moment. Then, as we round out the top 30, Hatterene, along with those NDD Armor Rouge Trick Room cores, this is what's getting the Life Orb item now as opposed to the Armor Rouge. But Hatterene started to rise because so much Roaring Moon was running around along with the Dark stuff that Hatterene just made sense to bring instead of the Armor Rouge in those games. So you want to be able to apply that offensive pressure, and with speed 29, you underspeed the Amoonguss and Trick Room, so that means you go first, which is really nice and convenient. And then Mystical Fire Tech is really good on Hatterene, especially with Terra Fire options. You just smash the Goldangos, for example, or make Iron Bundle and Fluttermane do not as much damage. And yeah, here's the Trick Room core with, like, again, NDD Armor Rouge, Iron Hands, Brute Bonnet, Torkoal. There's really no other way you want to use the Hatterene, without a doubt. Yeah, I see the Oranguru Annihilate stuff, but like, just use these 5. Like, this is really consistent. And then, even though these are outside the top 30, they also have some merit. So like Pelipper, of course, with those Palafin Rain teams. Garchomp has started to rise a little bit more just because, again, the ground typing is really good and advantageous against the Iron Hands. You're faster than, you know, Great Tusk, and you have a lot more special defense bulk. So there's some merit for Garchomp. And if you look at Perth Regionals, actually, it actually has quite a bit of Garchomp within the top results. So that makes a lot of sense. Scarlet is a little bit more of a niche thing. You're able to pivot into those Flash Fire, Will-O-Wisp, for example. You counter the Arcanine relatively well, so I can understand the rise in Cerulege a little bit, but that's pretty much it. And other than that, these are all like outside the top 30. Like, they all have like very specific niches, like the Iron Jugulus, for example, but you know, they're not within the top 30 meta at the moment. Okay, so that was it. We ran through it all. Let me know what you think of some of these options, whether you think they belong in the certain spot that they are. And you know, this is it. I always like to take a good look at this stuff, you know, especially with 2 regionals coming up that are still using the Regulation B format. And again, if you're interested in building a team using any of these Pokemon, again, we've been offering coaching on the channel since day 1. So if you're interested in a team building session where we build a squad from scratch and hash out all the EVs, again, just like I mentioned in the middle of the video, check the description, check the comment section, or click the join button on the video. It's every video that has the join button, and sign up for a tier 3 team building session. And once you do, message me on Discord and we'll coordinate a time to meet. All right, but that's it for now, guys. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.